when I'm in my office on the computer, it's right now I'm at home, so I'm on the iPad.
Okay, so you guys got a clearer picture than I do, but
yeah,
you look.
What
very,
happened
very
to
good.
your little office setup that you were doing, JP?
Yeah, Thursdays, I'm kind of going to the office very early. I don't really work in the gym.
Yeah.
So I don't want to wait there till 5 usually, till we start. I'm long done before. But I did another podcast today with a German company, and I did it from the office. Yeah. So yeah, just the timing. It's the timing. Otherwise, I do it in the office.
Is that the one you've done before?
Yes, I've done this one before. There's only like 4 big ones in Germany.
Yeah.
Huh. Hey boys, any thoughts on the Arnold Classic? Some of these guys are looking pretty intense, man.
Well, yeah, I don't have an accurate list on who's competing. I know a few that are, but
has anybody dropped out recently?
No, I can tell you who's competing. There's Nick Walker, Samson Dauda, Rami. There is Andrew Jacked. Then there is Patrick Moore, Akeem, and there's one I forgot, Bonac.
So looks like Dauda, man. He's looking pretty damn good, man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I seen Dauda in the gym a few days before the show, and I was very shocked. I always thought that's how you look 2 months before the show.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, personally, it looks great on Instagram. He's absolutely has the best shape. I don't talk about hardness, the best shape on stage. I was a little bit in shock. So they're going to have to definitely figure that out and come in a lot drier and harder. Looked like very thick skin up there on the Olympia. But, it's all up to him. So he absolutely has the best shape of everybody.
Absolutely.
But to beat Nick, it's going to be close to impossible. Nick is completely opposite. Not the best shape, but he is hard like a rock and very, very impressive. And Nick is with Matt Jansen. Matt's athletes really don't miss ever. I don't know the last time one of these great athletes ever missed. Kind of like with Hani, the same thing, where Chat and Milos seem to be a little bit more hit and miss, but they're all great. They're all great coaches. So really curious.
I don't know, man. That picture from Samson, man, looks pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, he just has to come in harder. Other than that, he could win that show.
Now, is it my imagination? Does it seem like he's softer from the back than from the front?
I don't know. I didn't
Let me see if Samson's posted anything.
And then this coaching change of Andrew, I don't know if you guys heard why. So
I heard he changed, but I don't know. I didn't hear why.
Yeah, I love his coach. What's his name?
Chris Lewis.
No, the coach he had before.
Oh, okay.
What's his name? The guy who used to. Let's see.
So you still think that Nick is the favorite?
Well, he absolutely is the favorite. There's not even a question, because he is the highest placed at the Olympia from all the competitors. So you have to kind of consider him the favorite. And Andrew, I don't know how he can make up his lack of size on the glutes and hamstrings area in this short face.
No.
So I don't think so.
No.
And then Dauda is the second favorite. And then I don't know how you guys see this whole thing with Rami. If something really went wrong and he was just totally overtrained at the Olympia, then I understand this move to come back here and rehabilitate himself. But what I saw is a lot bigger issues than just overtraining.
Right.
So then it's kind of a lost cause here, and then he's going to pretty much this be the end of his career. But I'm really, really rooting for him that there was just something we don't know, you know, it's just overtraining, and he's coming back rounder, fuller, harder, and get that title. It would be nice. It would be a great, great story, you know, so come back after everybody has him kind of off the list and win. That would be great. And then
Nick stayed pretty lean.
Yeah. Then about the little guy, you know, the Dutch guy, what's his name? I should put the list in front of me so I don't have to constantly guess, because I just woke up, so it's just a freaking mess here.
I don't know, man. That recent picture of
talking about Clarita?
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, Clarita.
Clarita? Yeah. He looks good.
He will be in top shape. There's no doubt about that. I just never seen him next to competition like that. By himself, he will be the winner.
Well, what was the show he did last year? Was it Texas or something that he went and won?
Yeah, but it was not a competition.
There wasn't a lot.
Like this.
There wasn't. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. So here is now the official list, because I forgot a couple of guys.
Yeah, I just saw that Lee Haney Instagram there. He's still sideways.
Yeah, is he still live or no? Is he done?
Yeah.
He's done.
Okay.
All right, here I have the list now here. So I forgot Kamal. He's not going to have a chance here.
Yeah.
No.
And Justin Rodriguez, he is not going to have a chance here.
No.
Charles Griffin skipped. He decided to skip. He was originally on the list.
See, Patrick Moore's going on.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I love him, but you know, I just don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then especially now, first time back from that horrible injury. So we'll see. You know, we will all kind of check on those body parts and see if they're back to old.
That was what was that? His Achilles or something like that?
Yeah.
His calf?
Yeah. So that's a big one.
Yeah. I'll have to reach out to him to see if he wants to come on before.
And also for Bonac, this will be a kind of is this going to be it?
Right.
Or is he having one more push here? Yeah, you know, because he won the Arnold Classic before, and we'll see. So I would say right now it's between three people: Rami, Samson, and Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we know if Rami is here? Is he in the States, or we don't know?
I don't think so.
I still think if Samson comes in hard and tight, that he can take.
Yeah, but he never done this before, so
yeah,
would be a first. You know, it's like yeah. So I don't see it, but I hope so. Okay. And I don't know if you guys follow the other classes. Because, you know, this is way easier kind of to prepare for, because it's 10 competitors, I think, in each category.
Oh.
And in the classic physique, there's 3 out of the top 5 are competing. There's Ramon, who plays second, has to be the favorite. Urs, everybody loves Urs.
Yeah.
Number 3 in the world. And then Mike Summerfield, who placed stunningly, I think 4th or 5th at Olympia, being not even in great shape, with the best lines I've ever seen. And there will be a huge fight.
Wow.
Did you see, real quick, JP, did you see Bonac posted something about his kidneys?
Yeah.
No, I don't see that. What did he say?
Staying off the orals.
He's staying off orals because he's got inflamed
kidney.
That's not good.
He lost already.
Yeah.
You have to worry about stuff like that. You lost already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to bring that into the picture like that this late. Or quite frankly, he should just drop. To me, when you have something like that's happening with your kidneys, it's a sign that you need to clean out for a while, flush your body out, go for a detox, because that's not a good thing to happen. I know all about kidney disease, man.
I had a guy who he became pro, but he decided not to compete as a pro with a very, very bad liver. And at the end, it turned out to be almost an advantage for him. He couldn't take any like orals before the show. He could only take very, very low doses. But then it turned out he didn't need more. Yeah. You know, so it almost worked in his favor in a sense. So for years and years and years with very low doses, he worked his way up and then became a pro. He lost the first bid to be a pro against Lunsford. Pretty good fight was that the USA, and then he won the North America and became a pro, but then decided to starting a steel company and not going to compete as a pro. But it was a good decision. Yeah. To see a man's physique here, unfortunately not very familiar with those guys. But then bikini is incredible. I mean, incredible. Everybody competes from the top 10 pretty much.
Really?
Laura Lee, who won last year, who fell back to 5th place, is competing. Maureen, the Miss Olympia. I don't know how you guys feel about that. You know, so she won the Olympia, very unexpected. You know, so we all knew she can win it in a few years, but not now. Now, to go back to the Arnold Classic 3 months later, and the Olympia win was somewhat controversial. It was very, very close with Jennifer Dory. Now going back, do you guys think that's a good idea?
I've only done that one time. I didn't find it hard to do, believe it. I mean, I don't know if you've done that, JP, or if any of you, if you get guys that did close shows like that. But
no, but I mean, that's what I mean. What I mean is, she's the best in the world. She's the Miss Olympia. Yeah. And then you go back 3 months later and you lose. Then you're not the best in the world anymore.
I see.
You had the title for 3 months.
Shape like that. Well, you know, if she stays in good shape, if she stays like she was in Olympia, then, you know, all the best for her. But I know it might be hard to do, man.
You know, she won like by 1 point against the former champion. And it turned out it was not even anything to do with being better or anything. It's just a small posing issue by Jennifer Dory caused her to win. So I would not even consider her the favorite. So it'll be interesting. And then we have Jennifer Dory, the Miss Olympia, Ashley Kaltwasser, who placed third at the Olympia, 3-time Miss Olympia. Ivana Eskandar, who won like 8 shows in a year. It's just incredible. Those girls, they just go at each other, you know. It's just absolutely incredible.
Ashley's the machine. She's nonstop.
She's incredible. Yeah. I think she became even filthy rich in this sport. I mean, she has like $2 or $3 million. I mean, that's just the way to do it. You know?
Wow. Yeah. So are you guys going to check the show out?
I plan on watching it. You know, I'm going to probably pay-per-view it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to comment for a German podcast. I look forward to that. Yeah. So I can talk about my favorite competitor, Urs.
Yeah.
More.
Talk about his arms, your favorite part of his body.
Oh, if I would say anything, you know, I'd probably be done in Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to know how that works between Germans and Swiss. You know, at the end, we're only their little brother, which is not to be taken seriously. You know, the Germans are the Germans. You know, I'm not part of it. No, in all those years, I was the best German-speaking bodybuilder. I had 2 guest postings in Germany. Wow. You know, it's just, would I be German? I would have guest posted every weekend.
Really?
You think so? Yeah, you think so.
Where is guest posing still big at? Because it's not big here.
No. Good question.
Yeah. I mean, is it overseas? Is it big anywhere?
Not the shows I've seen overseas. There's no guest posting at all.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Bygone days.
I know.
Wow. That was a good way to make an income back then.
Yeah.
To make money.
Can you imagine now with social media hiring a few guys and then starting some kind of online training business?
Yeah.
I mean, you have, as a top athlete, you have 500,000 people, you know, you can train. The amount of income you can generate from social media. Yeah. I wish we would have had that.
That would be more than a full-time job. But I mean, I guess it could be done.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't like to leave my training every weekend and go guest post, but I did it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we did that.
That's what we had to do, man.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that first? Rami and Nick were not on the list for the Arnold Classic. Then he raised the prize money to 300,000, and both jumped on board.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And then there was this big push to have Derek competing, and I think especially also Jay was really not understanding why the hell us being the favorite. Why the hell are you not going to go pick up $300,000? Because at the end it's mostly about the money. And Derek's response was that his long-term goals, health, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I see absolutely both sides.
Yeah.
What was the prize money last year?
200,000 for the winner.
Wow.
How much?
How much?
Last year 200,000, or for many years.
Yeah.
And this year is 300,000 for the winner.
Wow, that's a big jump.
300. Holy smokes.
So first place went up 100,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Goodness.
And then the second is probably 100, then 75 and 50.
Right.
Wow.
I know they went quite a bit up with the classic bodybuilding last year. I think they paid also 50 or 70,000 to the winner.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and still no physique, no figure,
no women's bodybuilding. No.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, you got to look at, obviously it'll generate a lot of money. With the show, with the audience only brings so much, and you got the show itself, the trade show. But you wonder if it brings in enough money to cover all that. I try to put the cost in my head, and I just wonder, okay, how are they doing this, man? Because it doesn't seem probable that they can pay that kind of money out and have that kind of money generated in a show.
Yeah. Do you think Arnold's putting up some of his own money?
No,
He
absolutely not.
No.
But I think the expo is very big.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Make a lot of money
I don't
there.
know how much they make of the pay-per-view. Arnold is not in the business of losing money.
No.
And it was not just kind of one of his strategies early on, but I heard about him that you never invest your own money into any businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'm sure you get a lot on sponsors. Probably cover most of it.
I would
I
think
think you have to, if you're the promoter of the show, you have to pay like $200,000 just for him to appear.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he will not just appear because it carries the name Arnold Classic.
Yeah.
So he charges 200,000 to appear at his show.
Yeah, I think there was this last year. The promoters in England for the Arnold Classic didn't transfer the money, and he
that's
didn't
right.
show up.
Oh,
he didn't show up.
Right.
So
Then he had something online about that. He had something online that he wasn't associated with the show, right?
Right.
I did not know that you have to pay for him to show up at his own show pretty much. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
200,000. Wow.
If only we had that back then.
Yeah.
How much do you think the judges make?
I don't think they're paid.
No?
Yeah, they are.
No,
No,
they gotta be at the IFBB level. They gotta be.
It used to be many years ago. It used to be $200 a day, but I'm sure it's been going up a little bit now, but not much.
Yeah.
No.
I would have loved to be a judge, and I talked to one of the El Gandhi brothers about it 2 or 3 years ago, and I was told that I have to pretty much give up all my clients. So really? I say, can I not just recuse myself? If any of my clients would ever compete in a show? I said, absolutely not. But I've seen several times now that there were people who are training people, judging. So, yeah, what can you do? Yeah.
Yeah, especially here in Florida at the NPC level, all these guys, they're all personal trainers. All these judges. I mean, Steve, I mean, Ty Pope, all those guys, they're all coaches and judges and
yeah.
So yeah, different. Did you guys know this This Leo guy that died. Did y'all ever watch him?
I heard of him.
Never
I don't
heard of
know
him.
who he is.
Yeah. Well, the only way I knew him is because him and Dave used to go at it, and he used to get onto it with Fuad a little bit. That's kind of how I know him. So, I guess he died at Tony Hughes' house the other day. Y'all see
Right.
that? It looks like he OD'd. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
he had been having some issues. I know he was living in California, and I think he got a domestic violence charge against him, from what I remember. And then he moved because I think he's Muslim or something. Because he moved out west, and then he ended up at Tony Hughes' out in Thailand, and that's where he died.
He's only 34 years old. Huh?
34, yeah. Yeah, they
That's
were
not-
showing pictures of the bathroom where they found him. I guess he was in there ripping the toilet. He actually ripped the toilet out of the ground. He must have flushed some of his dope down the toilet or something.
Really?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
So maybe Tony Hughes, he went on Tony Hughes' program.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Did this
Yeah.
did this guy compete? Did he ever compete?
No, I don't think so.
So we're
I
talking
don't really.
about
I don't know.
recreational. Are we talking about recreational drugs then, right?
It's yeah.
Or does anyone know?
Nobody really knows.
Because I read that he had a battle with alcohol and drugs. So
Really?
Yeah.
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 Did you guys see that Sean Ray posted something about dead people in bodybuilding and kind of linking it to chat?
Right.
What did he say?
To Chad Nichols?
Yeah, he was linking 5 bodybuilders who were dead to kind of their work with chat being part of it. I mean, you gotta really have proof if you make accusations like that.
Right.
What exactly did he say, JP?
It's just kind of like, it's not funny that what all those 5 had in common is they all worked with Chad Nichols.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And to my surprise, one of the biggest podcasts, BS podcast, I think it's called, picked it up.
Yeah.
And the reaction was pretty much, I would say 8 out of 10 comments were in favor of Sean Ray. That, he had a point. And I mean, in my opinion, you don't really have to have proof when you make accusations like that.
Yeah. Who was his last guy? Was it Dallas? Did he work with Dallas?
No. Dallas was with, I think, Neil Yoda.
Well,
who was the last one that died under Chad? That's when Sean Ray was those two were really going at it.
I thought he worked with Chad Dallas.
I thought so too.
No.
Matt, did he work with Matt too?
Well, there was this group, Matt, Neil Yoda. I think they're all in Florida.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So does Sean have does he have grounds? Is he? I mean, is he right to say this stuff? I mean, is it legitimate? I mean, you got to look at all the facts, right?
Well, if he actually trained the 5 guys that had died,
yeah,
that says it right there. Of course, there's no proof of that.
Yeah. Well, he worked with Ramy for a while.
Right.
Sean's never been afraid
he's with him now?
He's never been afraid to say what's on his mind.
No, he'll say it.
No, yeah, he don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, because who was it that keeps calling him out? Chris, the trainer.
Aceto?
Chris Aceto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was about what he said about Sean, huh?
Right. Maybe so.
Yeah, I don't think he and Sean get along too well, to be honest.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, I'm not quite on Sean's side when it comes to this chat issue here, but then on the other side, Sean is really, he does a lot of good. I mean, he there's a lot of things points he makes which are very valid, and I understand,
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't find the posting quite here. Maybe he removed it, I'm not sure. Or it was just a storyline posting.
Well, I did see it. I actually saw it posted.
Yeah, I didn't see the posting. I just saw the PS podcast talking about it.
Right, right.
So I went through the comment section, and I was absolutely amazed how many people are kind of on. I think Chad even answered to that on another podcast some time ago. And for example, you know, I don't train as many athletes as Chad does. So what? I lost one athlete, but yeah, I did.
How long ago was that?
4 or 5 years ago. But what happened is the guy was competing at the Classic European Championship, and he contacted me 2 weeks before. He said, "That guy, I want to finish this with my trainer, but I'm not feeling comfortable with the coaching I have, and if I would work with him for the next show." So I gave some very loose advice for that show, you know, respected that he has another trainer. And then he went on vacation. I already wrote all the plans. And like he was in Greece, I believe, for a week. And the very last night on vacation, he fell over dead.
But do you know what he died of?
Nobody knows.
How old was he?
Yeah, he was in his mid-20s.
Oh, wow.
And he was not like a huge guy, not in any way overabused steroids or so, from what I got from him in that short time. He was at 1 in the morning, his girlfriend or fiance at the time said, "Hey, let's go to bed. You know, we have an early flight." And he got up and said, "Okay, let me go to the bathroom. Let's turn off the TV." He was standing up, looked at her, fell over dead.
Wow.
Well,
yeah.
The first thing that would be the heart, right?
Yeah. So I don't know anything. I don't think they did an autopsy down there in Greece.
Yeah, probably not. But you never know. It's hard to speculate.
Yeah.
You don't know his family history and what they were doing in Greece. Yeah,
and it's just often I get athletes, and you know, when I ask about their history with steroids, I'm just absolutely amazed. So there are a lot of really, really bad coaches out there. You know, it's just with crazy programs.
Yeah, but you got to look at the past couple of years, right, guys? I mean, how many bodybuilders, and specifically, I mean, forget other athletes, bodybuilders from all over the world that have passed away.
I don't know if it's more frequent or if it's just more well-known names, you know, but every single one had, we went through that here with Dr. Schottel. Every single one, there was pretty much the same issue. There were heart issues.
Yeah, and I've got my comments on that, but unfortunately, I can't say them on this YouTube because Big Naz is going to get kicked off, and he'll send the Orlando cops after me for getting him kicked off of YouTube.
Yeah. Listen, you guys talk whatever you want to talk about.
I'm sure a lot of people would bring the vaccine in this.
Yeah. That's a big issue.
Absolutely. That's already been talked about, and that's why when you say that, I didn't want to say anything, but that's already been mentioned. So now that you said it,
that
was mentioned.
And that's not just bodybuilding; that's sports in general.
No, I get that, but I'm thinking, you know, bodybuilding specifically because, you know, us being bodybuilders, that was a big issue for all the people that have passed away the last couple of years, and including recently the YouTube guy.
I very much regret that I ever took that vaccine. I really do. I very much regret that I ever took that vaccine.
Yeah,
I was just in a very bad spot. I had a lot of pressure from my family here.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of the pandemic, my mother died in Europe.
No kidding. I'm sorry.
So nothing to do with the pandemic. You know, it's like a long time coming. So I had to fly back, and I just I didn't want to get into trouble. You know, I didn't really know the situation with traveling.
Yeah.
And I just took that vaccine, and then even the booster shot. And after that, I stopped, and I won't take any more because I just don't know.
Yeah. They had everybody scared. They scared everybody.
There's you know, and we can get into it even more later on, JP. There's a big protocol right now that's been followed by a lot of people that have taken it. that actually help in case of certain side effects or whatever. And two major supplements that are powerful for helping people that have taken that is bromelain and NAC. Bromelain for anti-inflammatory, NAC for helps a lot of the circulation in your blood and diminishing any type of blood clot may be happening around your blood vessels, for example. So that's something that has come out recently in the last couple of months, and a lot of people are really getting into that. And that's why NAC and bromelain are just coming off the shelves like crazy, man.
Oh.
So, and there's a lot more things you can do, but those two have been really studied recently by a lot of scientists all over the world and doctors, and those two have come up, and they are amazing for what they're helping people with.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know. I mean, I talked to Steve yesterday. I'm putting a detox program together with help of several people. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
I want to make sure now that all my athletes, when they come off cycles, do some kind of sensible detox program. And I will make a video in the next few days. I'm pretty much completed. And thank you, Steve, for your help. That was very, very helpful yesterday.
My pleasure, man.
So originally, years ago, a friend sent me Chad Nichols' detox program. And then I discussed it with Steve and with a nutritionist here. Both had some very good input, and I'm looking forward. So it's a few things I make sense to me, but I will not implement them because, you know, I talked to a nutritionist here, and I think Steve had a discussion about having a little bit of rice in here or there, a little bit of oatmeal, or the Ezekiel bread, and she was totally against that. You know?
Well, I agree with that, because that's another. There's different protocols, but yes, keep going. By the way, I agree with that.
But you know, I mean, you're gonna have to. I tried to convince 280-pound guys to go on this kind of cleanse program, and then
and no
coming
carbs,
off the cycle and telling a guy, "Hey, no more food." You know, for the next 2 weeks.
Well, you know, basically you're dropping all the carbs, and then people are not used to that. But that's a major factor. If you go, that's another level, JP, too. We never spoke about yesterday. Getting to that other level. I mean, we could have gone on for hours, you and I, about this, but getting to that level is a little more detailed, man. And I mean, all carbs are gone. The only sort of carbs you're taking in are any type of fruits and vegetables.
What I was thinking is maybe I can drop it completely in the last few days.
Yep.
You know, when the end is near, I'm gonna probably do that. And then when it comes to all the roots and you know, and that, so I found a product which has a lot of that stuff in it, because I don't want, you know, I need to make sure people can do it and they don't have to go and buy 17 different supplements. Okay?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even it's not exactly what I wanted. Some things are a little bit less or more dosed in the product I have, but I think I found a product to kind of covers most of the roots, and I have to make it somewhat practical. But other than that, I think it's pretty good. I have still a couple of more questions I want to address to Steve outside this podcast, and then I will make a video. I'm very excited to even do it in myself.
Absolutely, man. I tell you, you're gonna see a major difference, JP. And now, since you mentioned that subject, if you followed most of the stuff that you had, and we talked with that, you sent me yesterday, and we went through that. If you dropped all the carbs out of there, all the rice and potatoes and whatever, there's any other carbs that are on there, that's a whole new level, man. I mean, then obviously you got to up your vegetables really, really high. You know, that's again, and tons of water. And there's other protocols too we can discuss later on, but that's a factor. I mean, you will get the first 3 days, you're going to have a little bit of lethargy. You're going to be a little lethargic, man. You're going to be a little dizzy, and things are going to happen. But
that's for
it's
no
your
carbs.
body that's detoxing.
Sure.
And you're dropping all that excess carbs and weight and stuff, and it's amazing how you feel. I mean, about the 4th or 5th day, you're dancing circles around people if you're doing it right. You know, I mean, it's amazing what happens. And yeah, you're going to lose some weight, but you're losing weight that the body doesn't want, and the weight that you're losing is loaded with a lot of toxicity anyway. So it's a big benefit for that, man. And you could still train like we were talking about yesterday, but yeah, you're going to see a major difference when you start that.
How long, I mean, I'm sure you'll tell people this. So how long should they detox?
Oh, 2
Well,
weeks,
that's another
10 days to 2 weeks.
issue
Okay.
I had. The original program I got from Chad was only 6 days, but Steve and my nutritionist here convinced me that this is absolutely not enough time.
Yeah.
So I have it now between 10 and 14 days. I didn't really specify this now exactly. So I will definitely suffer, and I think if I do it right, just a 10-day would help me tremendously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Steve, should natural bodybuilders detox?
100%.
Yeah.
100%, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
the whole thing about. Go ahead, JP.
Mostly when it comes to my clients, there will be people who are not competing at all.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Huh.
Just something exciting, some change in. And today on that German podcast, there was another very famous trainer in German room trainer on, and we were kind of discussing about how to approach today's training, also coaching people. It's like, in one way, we have all this experience. We know things worked for us, but then we can't deny all this new stuff, which is out there, all the new information. So I'm pretty obsessed with constantly researching, constantly trying to find new things. But then I have to be careful not to get carried away and get too much away from the basics. So, but 3 weeks ago, I had this we stopped working with together very shortly into our work together. This very, very knowledgeable guy in England. He used to be a professional soccer player. In a short time, built a pretty incredible body. So he sent me his workout program. I had freaking no idea what the hell they're talking about. With all those techniques and those, I had to constantly Google when I went to the program. And I'm absolutely not willing to go into a direction like that where I have no experience with, because when one thing it worked for me, I wasn't the best competitor and there were a lot of fine tuning missing and all that stuff. But the way I trained, you can build crazy muscles with that way. And I have to stick somewhat with what I know, and I cannot start to just make up shit because it sounds good. And I looked also into that, what was it called? That training form Hani Rambod kind of promotes, with those 7 sets at the end. Do you guys know the term of it?
I don't know the term, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
FSD training, I believe. So to my surprise, once I really looked into it, it is something I really did my whole life without having a name on it, where you choose 1 or 2 body parts a week. And then at the end of training that body part, you go in with 7 sets with pretty much short breaks. You drink a lot of fluids during those sets to get a real pump. I do it a little different. I use mostly BFR bands with different body parts to bring them up in a second workout every week. But it's amazing when I read that stuff, I see a lot of stuff I did. For me, it was just normal training. I didn't have a name for it or anything like that. But when it comes to like the training, I'm not too bendable. Let's put it this way. I gotta know. But then when it comes to the peptides and different ways how certain steroids work. So I made, for example, one huge mistake I ever made is I always took equipoise only for a short time. And now when you find credible reports that it really works way better if you take it over 10, 12 weeks, yes, when I find any information like that, I will change my old protocols. But I'm kind of wrestling with myself often, how far into all this new stuff should I go, and not to kind of deny what I know. Yeah? So the German guy, he was totally pretty much denouncing it. This is all garbage. We know what we did. We looked great in the 90s. And I tried to kind of find the middle way. But I was absolutely in shock when I read that training of this guy, and I had no clue. It could have been a training for another sport. I had no clue.
What were some of the things that he was showing you that were?
Yeah, so this push pull, which at the end we pretty much did too. It's just a fancy word. Yeah. But I will get to it a little bit later here. I will put it up here. I sure kept it in my notes here, and we can get through it. So what I then did is I Googled all the fancy terms and to make sure I know what it is, and then kind of intermixed what I know with his, because he was not willing to just go to an old-fashioned program like mine. But yeah, and then other things like now the detox is something new I implement, but it's not really new. It's just new for me, So, yeah. Steve, did you back in those days, or Phil, detox back in the days when you were competing?
Oh yeah, I sure did.
No.
The off season, I used to do a 10-day detox.
No, never used a detox.
So, if off season, you mean after each cycle, or just one time in off season, or how did you do that?
I would go one time in the off season after like some major shows, and I knew like it's usually at the end of the season. For me, it would be depending if I like the Olympia '92 was my last one. Obviously, before that, it was always during the fall because I wasn't in the Olympia 2 years prior to that. But and most of the time I was in the Arnold Classic. But I would find the time where I wasn't going to compete for 5-6 months, and I would do a 10-day detox. In the first 3 days, I would just do water and lemon only. That's all I would do. But you can't do that without setting a protocol before that. You have to prepare your body to go on water fast. And what I would do is get high vegetables, a lot of raw vegetables 2 or 3 days before with other foods, protein and carbs, but not a lot. And then make sure that I'm eating a lot of high fiber vegetables. And then that first day I start, boom, water and lemons only. And after 3 days, I dropped a lot of weight. For me, a small body like me, 7-8 pounds was, that's a lot of weight. Because I was always around 170, and I'd sometimes go down almost 10 pounds. But it would come back with training would be very light, just a lot of calisthenics, light training, but made a big difference. And I wasn't, to be honest, too, you guys, I wasn't a big user of steroids back in the day because I was always afraid to use a lot, man. I mean, I was one of the only. Matter of fact, I remember back in the day talking to some of the guys. I never even came close to using some of the stuff they did. So I couldn't even imagine what more I could have done if I took more, but I just wasn't prepared to do it.
Do you regret that? Or
I don't know, JP, because I never took more than 2 different steroids at a time.
Right.
Never in my life. Never took more than 2. And I was almost prepared to do better than that after 92. But I do have a lot of regrets from retiring after 92 because that was, I was peaking because I was only 29 years old, 30 years old. I mean, I was at my peak, but I got afraid, and it was all for the dumb reasons. And we all know it had a lot to do with diuretics, but I had a lot of other promises made to me, and I thought, I didn't need bodybuilding anymore, but those promises never came true, unfortunately. And but I do have regrets for retiring. I thought, I could have had some better shots at doing better and better because of, I was getting, like 11th in the world at the time, and then after that European Grand Prix, I probably placed like 4th and 5th most of the shows after that. But, to do the detox for me was just something because I've studied nutrition for 38, 40 years right now. And so, I'm pretty knowledgeable in a lot of different aspects of it, but there's so much different things coming out in terms of the supplementation wise too, and plus all the different types of steroids and everything that I get asked by people all the time, what should I use? What should I use? And it's like, I can give them some advice, but I don't really have a lot of knowledge in all the other ones. No. But there are some minor regrets that I have when I look back on that stuff.
Steve, did you do, after you detoxed, did you do blood work?
Never.
No?
Never did blood work back in the day.
See, after I'm done competing, like I guess the season, Dr. Jason has me do my blood draw right after, and then we'll adjust, fix whatever needs to be fixed. If some of my enzymes are high, and then 30 days later we do another blood draw. And it's usually spot on.
Yeah, hey guys, I've never used off-season steroids. It was always 12 weeks before a show, and that was it. Through my whole career.
That's funny, Phil. I was the same damn way, man.
Never took off-season. Nothing in the off-season. Zero.
Yeah, that's true. I did.
These guys now don't come off of it at all.
That's yeah.
They stay on it. They stay on it.
I mean,
you can always tell the ones too because they when you guys know this, they disappear from the gym for a while.
That's why I couldn't imagine much more weight I could have put on. I mean, look, I'm 5'4". I weighed 170 in competition, and with Mohammed Benaziz at 5'2", he was 200 pounds.
Wow.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like Clarita. How much does he weigh? He's over 200.
How tall
185.
is he?
185.
He's 5'3", 5'4", something like that.
Holy smokes. I didn't know he was that short.
Yeah, he's 185.
Yeah, he's small.
Wow. I truly looking back in that regard, there's very little I could have done different. You know, I mean, the cycling was spot on. I mean, there's little things like I mentioned before, you know, I should have EQ and used it longer than, but one thing I would change is kind of because Dorian did it, it also made a lot of sense to me. When I came off a show, I added right away a 4-week cycle with heavy, like with tren, with T-ball, with testosterone, you know. And I trained extremely, really hard coming out of the show with the whole concept in mind that this is the best time to build muscle.
Right.
Today, I look at that a little different because I think you're already prone to build so much quality muscle without taking all this garbage a prolonged time coming off a show. I would not do that. You know, I would just go into a break right away, maybe train a few more weeks hard. Little things like that, you know, I would change. But dosage-wise, or there's nothing I could have done different. Insulin, all the stuff, it's GH, did it all right. I mean, that's why I came so close to having a competitive body at the Olympia. Yeah. Where I failed was totally different. It was in presentation, dial-in, that kind of stuff, especially being professional, taking pictures every week. And, you know, it was back then, it was all a little different. You had to, you know, bring those pictures to a store and pick them up a few days later.
Right. Like today.
Yeah.
It's totally different. And in that regard, it just wasn't professional enough, you know. Yeah. And then the one major, huge mistake, I always felt when I saw a pro show that, except maybe Labrada, but a lot of guys, they're not very focused up there. You know, they go back in the lineup, they start to kind of take the sweat off and have their bellies hang out. And I was always kind of the opinion, okay, I need to be able to stand up there for an hour without pretty much breathing. You know, and you look at Labrada, he was always standing up there perfect. So I was then starting 12 weeks before the show with intensive posing every day. But it didn't do me any good because I never filmed it. So I made all of those mistakes in the posing, and you know they became more and more anchored into my posing. So everything I did wrong, and then at the end I could stand there for an hour, you know. But I did everything wrong for an hour.
Yeah,
and that kind of stuff. You know, I was very good in. Let's go, for example, I went to the grocery store, or when I was driving a car, I was always going into the longest line. And then holding my stomach in and just kind of like I'm standing in the lineup. Yeah. So I had the ability to do it. Or when I drove with my car somewhere, just sucking my stomach in. But then I didn't transfer that to stage because I just didn't film myself in the prep. So
you walked around like a Terminator all the time.
Oh, I was just like, yeah, pretty much. So I had the ability and the idea what I tried to achieve, but I did it totally wrong. So when you look at a cabin, for example, I mean, the guy never makes a mistake coming out on stage. That's more the part I would like to change, but not when it comes to cycling. And then the next big mistake was clearly food choices. But I can't really say, you know, I didn't have the knowledge. Most of us probably didn't, you know, what certain foods cause. And I just didn't understand quite the difference between certain carbs, and I had to eat massive amounts of food. So you constantly choose wrong food sources, and it's going to start to build up visceral fat and changing your physique. But I'm not really saying, well, I wish I would not have done that, because that I couldn't really have changed. I don't think a lot of people, you see with a lot of the big guys, even Nasser, even Dorian, they all had the issues towards the end of their career where the visceral fat just started to kind of, even Ronnie had it clearly.
Well, it's when you say that, JP, because you mentioned Dorian a couple of times. There was a time back then where I was trying to talk to him a little bit about cycling. There was me, him, and Porter Cottrell. And it's funny, I just sent that picture to Big Naz when you said that. Yeah. I wanted to understand a little bit about what some of these guys were doing, because nobody would share anything back in the day with us.
Right.
Well, we wouldn't share anything. Nobody would tell you what's going on.
I was going to ask you guys, because I'm sure Dorian wouldn't tell anybody anything, right?
No, and I remember that picture I just sent you, Big Naz. I remember trying to pick his brain on something, and forget what was happening, but I vaguely remember talking to him, and I wanted to know a little bit about his cycle, and I'm not sure how the conversation went. It's been so many years. But no, nobody ever discussed what they were doing.
No one ever talked about it.
Yeah.
I was around the rest of the world. I was around Samir. I never asked him questions. Ali Mala, I trained with Ray Menser. I mean, I was around a lot of bodybuilders, and we never talked about drugs. We never talked about anything.
Yeah.
I asked questions. I did ask questions, but got no answers.
Yeah.
I tried to ask Nasser pretty much over and over again and try to find out more. So my Bible was pretty much the Green Book. I don't know if you guys remember. There was the first underground Bible kind of for steroids.
Oh, yeah. By, what's his name? What's the guy's name again?
Bill Phillips wrote that, right?
No.
Yeah, I have no idea who wrote that. That's kind of, and I did one trip to the Netherlands, and there was this guy, Youngblood was his name. He placed second at the Miss Universe, but then disappeared. He wrote me his cycle down. That was very early. I was 17 years old. The guy looked absolutely fantastic, and he claimed to have knowledge about what Barry Dumay does. So those are the only person ever really in that regard kind of helped me. But I think my doses, the way I kind of figured out myself, were reasonable, but for that time pretty high. I was I don't know if I was one of the first ones, probably not, but I did 500 milligrams of testosterone during my amateur career and went to 1,000 during my pro career. And then I did 3 or 4 tren, 85 milligrams a week, but only for 4 or 5 weeks. I did 25 milligrams of D-ball as an amateur, 3 or 4 weeks, then doubled that. I did 300 or 400 milligrams of Primo during a cycle for 12 weeks. So I now people tell me, like, would you take more? Or, I felt like I'm doing a lot back then. Now when you listen to that stuff they do today, it's not that much.
Yeah.
But I think I did enough to beat Dorian in that regard, and it wouldn't make sense to me. Now, I was at 1,800 milligrams a week. There's never entered my mind, well, if I go another 1,000 milligrams, it's going to help me in any way. I was already scared that it might harm me in the long run. So without having talked to anybody or gotten any advice from anybody, really, I think in that regard, I did a pretty good job figuring it out myself.
Yeah.
Well, back then it was guesswork, I would imagine, for most of us. Just guesswork.
Yeah, that's all it was for us.
That's all.
I just looked up who it was in my head a while ago. I wasn't sure if it was right. It was Dan Duchesne that wrote that book.
Dan, yes. I knew Dan very well. Dan was a good friend.
So, yeah.
Back in the day.
Dan Duchesne. Okay.
That was all guesswork, Phil. That's all I ever did was guesswork.
That was it, man. You used what worked for the last show, and you did the same thing and repeated from 1980 until 1996 when I retired. It was the same program for every show. It never changed.
Yeah, and funny is that, I did the same off-season program pretty much the same. The only difference in for a prep was I added on 4 weeks, so it went from 12 weeks to 16 weeks. And then the last 4 weeks, I added on things like Anawar. I took the Primo out, and then the last 2 weeks I added on halotestin. But you know, every time I tried something different, when somebody broke some kind of idea, hey, this and this, I heard is really great, I always regretted it. It was one time I tried to switch from D-bol to Anadrol 50, and it just turned into a total shit show where I suddenly was 340 pounds looking like a butcher. My stomach started hurting, so I knew I'm going to stick with D-bol, so that's all good. But yeah, it's more... The only thing I can really regret is because I knew I should have known better, and I was warned of it. Work on your presentation, don't get any bigger, hire a coach. That's it. But choosing different foods, you know, I mean, it's easy for a small guy to say, well, why did you have this stomach issue and thing? But I had to eat a lot. There was just no other way to get this big.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know, maybe Stephen could answer that. You know, today I'm pretty convinced it is very good to not eat all day, to have like a 12-hour break, to some kind of fasting every day.
Yeah.
How could I have done that being 320 pounds?
Easily. There's an article. Where did I see that not too long ago? And I forget who. I'm gonna find it so I can send it to you, JP. I'm still looking for my other article. I got so much stuff in my computer, by the way, for that other methylene blue for you. But there was an article in regards to intermittent fasting while bodybuilding, of course, off season, and still using steroids. But you know, the window is 8 hours. So you have an 8-hour window. Now, the thing about that is when you use that 8-hour window in intermittent fasting with bodybuilding, you know, you got to put that food in, but you got to make sure you don't overextend your belly while doing that. And that's hard to do, especially if you're a bigger guy. And you got to eat almost like every hour and a half, but, you know, just enough that you're eating like 5 or 6 times. And then that 16-hour window, your body's detoxifying and going through such an amazing phase of just get rid of everything your body doesn't need, including an extra fat that you don't need, that you feel so much better. You're leaner. You're able to withstand the posing a lot better. But again, that's a trial and error thing, man. And I don't think a lot of guys will even want to try it, but there's a lot of validity to it.
I did 8 hours as an amateur, but then kind of unfortunately, I cut the not eating phase to 4 hours as a pro, you know, from midnight till 4 a.m. So, you know, to have smaller portions, you know, and eat more frequent, it would have interfered with my theory I had back then that I never wanted to eat before my blood sugar is below 100 again.
Yeah.
But that would be probably the case if you have smaller meals, it would drop faster to under 100. Because I always had this theory, I don't know if it's true or not, if I eat when my blood sugar is still up there at the 130, 140, that I can absorb the new meal because then the old one is still, you know, kind of working.
See, here's the theory that in regards to eating smaller meals and your body going into like a detox phase or more of a growth phase too, because don't forget, when you have food in your stomach, your body goes into survival mode. We know that. So your body is digesting, boom, boom. It's digesting all this food, man. It's good because your brain's going to go there first. It's going to send all that energy, your blood's, boom, it's in there, man. But if you eat smaller meals, it digests quicker. You have more time for your body to go through detoxification and growth because it's digesting quickly. And that's why let's get one thing straight here, guys. Everybody knows America is the sickest country in the world. And if you notice, we have the fattest people in the world. I'm sorry, man. We have more people out of shape in America than any country in the world.
For 42
people overeat.
42% obesity in this country.
Imagine that, Phil. Exactly. And it's the overeating phase that people don't know. See, anybody has a little bit of an extended stomach is because your body is not digesting that food fast enough. So you're holding on to a lot of fat there. You're extending that belly. When you eat smaller, digest quicker, you're able to grow better because your brain says, okay, I got no more food. All right, let's turn on the growth factor. It's making everything grow. All right, and it's getting rid of all the unwanted dead cells. And then especially when you go to sleep at night, when you're going through that autophagy phase and your body's just getting rid of all of the dead cells even more.
Yeah.
Your body will go into a better growth phase when you're eating smaller meals more often. That's very well proven, man. When you're eating too much at one meal, your body can't digest that quickly.
Oh, no.
And you're not able to get to that place where your body's supposed to be, especially as a bodybuilder.
So what do you think a big guy like me, being in the 300-pound range,
Wow.
how much protein does a guy like that really need to build a body to compete or to win a Mr. Olympia title?
I'm on the fence with that with a lot of people, and I'm more controversial. I've done enough research knowing that only because of what I went through with my kidney disease back in the day, I know for a fact that the body can only utilize so much protein in one meal and so much protein in a day. Okay, yes, the average, we all know the average right now for bodybuilding is like a gram and a half per pound per pound, of your body. But now that's gotten up even higher. You're talking 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So for you, that's like 600. I don't believe in that. I know your body can grow at 300 pounds. 300 grams of protein is way more than enough. Way more. Because what's going to happen is when you're utilizing all the other foods, you got your other cofactors, your vegetables and fruits and your carbohydrates and your fats. All of these act synergistically together in the body. If you're using too much protein, you still will go into ketosis to a certain point, man. Now, a lot of people might disagree with me on that. But if you're having other nutrients, you're taking in the proper nutrients, your body's going to utilize the food much more efficiently. And that's the whole deal about eating balance and not having to go overboard on all these different foods.
Well, I wasn't far off that. In off season, I eat 350 grams of protein a day. But then I don't know if I made a mistake. When I started my diet, I started with, so at the beginning of my diet, let's say I was 320 pounds. So I talked realistically, like last year, I was 272. I think I put some pounds of muscle on. I want to be 2 weeks before the show, I want to be 285.
Right.
And, I can change that as I go, but that's realistically. So what I did then, I started to do 5-day cycles where I did 3 days high on fat, higher protein, and very low carbs. And then 1 high carb day, much lower protein and no fat. And then the second medium carbs, low protein, low fat. So I had a 5-day cycle, and I calculated how much do I have to use per each 5-day cycle to get to those 285 2 weeks before the show.
Right.
And then after every 5-day cycle, I stepped on the scale and then just changed the carbs on day 4 and 5. But, and it worked very, very great. I always got in great shape. But then what I did on the first 3 days where I was eating high protein, I went to 500 grams of protein, and that might have been a mistake. So I usually, that was 500 grams of protein, 100 grams of fat, and only about 50, 60 grams of carbs. And then on day 4, I did very low protein, only like 200, 250 grams, very low in fat, and 500-600 grams of carbs. And on day 5, like 400 or 500 grams of carbs. But you think that was not the best? It was not a great idea to have this much protein in this first 3 days?
Well, here's where I believe that's not good. And again, you're going to have so many different trainers out there not going to agree with this. And you got to look at the factors with anybody else that might disagree with this, because first of all, when you're talking trainers out there that are having their clients take all different kinds of steroids, that's a whole new story. But if you're creating an imbalance in your body by fluctuating the protein and the carbs all the time, you just can't get used to having that balance, as opposed to you keep the same thing, you fluctuate just a little bit. And when your body's used to having that balance of protein, carbs, and fats all day long, okay, for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, you're going to come in a lot more dialed. Your body's going to get used to it. It'll be much more easier for you to dial in whether you want to go up in weight or down in weight. So it's having that balance with everything, because, again, your body can't get used to having high amounts of carbs, low protein, or high fat, high protein, low carbs, and then you're changing it up. So the body goes, it just kind of goes crazy like that. There's no balance in it, and your body can't adjust to that quick. I mean, of course, when you're using steroids, it's a different story, but still, even with using steroids, there's still not that balance in there by following that. You know, who was it that was talking about this? I saw it a few weeks ago. I might have been Milo Sargent, actually a few months ago. He was always kind of balanced. I don't believe that he did anything like that. And he always stayed balanced in his food and his intake all through the season. I did the same thing. I know a lot of other guys did, but just
I don't think that's true, because I know he's using insulin on certain days and not others during his prep.
So must have been somebody else.
So,
I'm not sure who said that.
So the reason I started all this up and down, first I read an article by Dan Duchesne. So he said that what's the best way to lose weight and keep as much muscle as possible for people who are not as super talented. And then he came up with this crazy 11-day cycle where you go through all those different phases. On day 11, you just eat whatever you can find. So that never made any sense to me. I was never going to do that. So I started to kind of, and then I read by Rich Gaspari that he is changing carbs a lot to kind of get the body off balance, and to he gets easier in shape like that. So based on that information, you know, Gaspari was kind of the ultimate when it came to being hard. And I always loved Dan Duchesne's theory. So I came up with the 5-day cycle. And it always worked really, 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 really great. Mm-hmm. But then when I met Nasser, and Nasser was just kind of consistently having the same diet and just slowly losing weight. And then his theory was like, look, you don't need to kind of do this off and on, because you're taking fat burners, you're taking GH, you're doing cardio or whatever. You're going to lose the fat no matter what. The drugs alone will help. So then what I did is, at the beginning of the diet, I stick with the cycles. And then once I felt like I'm lean, which always I deteriorate, I always, the way I decided that is my lower back. You know, once I was lean, it's usually 4 or 5 weeks before the show. Then I just took the average of the nutrients over those 5 days and just went into a normal diet and didn't go up and down anymore. Right. So, yeah, you really believe it would be better served if I just from the beginning of the diet was just consistently just kind of dropping the carbs and leaving everything else untouched.
Yeah, for detox you're talking about? Yeah.
No. I talk about prepping for shows.
Prepping for show? I always believe the consistency and balance with it, and then just fluctuating the carbs just a little bit, depending on what you're going through, works way better. I mean, I've done that with many clients back in the day, and even now a little bit. I haven't had any clients in contests recently, but your body seems to adjust a lot easier, man. You're able to just manipulate it so much better by just minor adjustments instead of high up and up and down so much.
Highs and lows, sure.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So we were talking about that training program I had so much trouble with. So what he pretty much did is each workout, he exercise 1, he called it like isolation movement, 4 sets of 20, 15, 12, and 10 with 40-second rest. And exercise 2, heavy compound movement, 3 sets, 8 to 10 minutes with a strict 2 minutes rest between the sets. Exercise 3, 3 aggressive sets, strip weight by 20% 3 times. Starting weight for 10 reps, 90 seconds between sets, and then doing it. And then exercise 4 and 5, 3 supersets of compound supersets on isolation movements. So pretty much every body part was designed like that. Always very, very organized with strict rests between the sets. And I tried kind of stuff like that. There was this system, Bredenkamp system, was very famous in the German-speaking room. I had friends having quite success with it. And the way I trained, the heavy weights I used, I could not have some kind of stopwatch deciding how much rest I have between sets. Right. Because I did so few sets, and I wanted to make sure I do the next set when I'm 100% ready to perform on high level again. And I just don't see that. How you do after a heavy squat set, how you rest 90 seconds and go to the next set, how the hell does this even work?
Yeah, for squats, no, you can't do it.
You won't. That won't
I believe that's probably one of the, squats, legs, when it comes to squats or leg press, I have always been under the belief. I mean, I've always believed that keeping a longer rest in between works way better. On any other body part, resting in between was always somewhat short, man. 30 to 40, 50 seconds.
But you didn't have a stopwatch. It was still going with your feeling.
In my head, you know, you look at the gyms had the clocks on the wall. I would kind of monitor that once in a while. But I always got used to it, man. And I knew when I was ready to go again.
And then for different body parts, each week you use the FSD7, which is Hani Rambod's program, which is you add on at the end of a body part. Yeah. You keep changing the body part every 4 weeks, maximum 2 body parts a week, 7 sets of 10 reps with 30-second rest. So I do use something like that. So what I do is, I do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday till Thursday, I cover every body part, kind of the same way, you know. Big body parts, I used to do like 8 to 10 sets, smaller body parts, 6 to 8 sets. What I liked is quite doing a lot of different exercises. So especially in a back, with back, I often did, when I did 8 to 10 sets, I did like 6 different exercises with 1 to 2 sets. But then what I do on the end of the week, Friday, Saturday, I chose weaker body parts and did extra workouts there with the BFR bands. You know, back in the days, we didn't have the BFR bands, but I started to do that later with my clients, where you just do another workout for a weakness and then use the bands. I don't know if you guys work with those bands.
No, I saw them recently, several years back.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. It really is. I mean, I train only with those bands now.
Really? I've seen the research, and it's amazing what I've seen. I've never tried them. Yeah. That was invented. The guy that did it was a Japanese guy who first came up with that years ago.
So many years ago, a client brought those bands to the gym, and he was a new client of mine. I trained him in the gym one-on-one. So he had issues with his forearms. But he said to me, look, I can work to this injury with BFR bands. And you guys can only imagine how happy I was when he showed up with those bands, guy, you know, tried to convince me. So he started talking about that, you know, if you tie it at a certain part right underneath the shoulder, or for legs right underneath on top of the thighs, you can kind of, with only half the weights, pump a massive amount of blood, you know, with the theory that the main artery stays open, but all the little vessels underneath the skins are blocked. So you take a lighter weight, do only 30-second breaks for 4 sets max, and then you have to remove the bands. And this way you can kind of work through injuries. You can still improve and heal at the same time. So I wasn't sure a big fan. I started to research a little bit. And then I noticed that 3 or 4 weeks later, he was totally healed, and he had the whole time really, really great arm workouts.
Wow.
I said, wow, we have something here. So at that time, I had pretty much, when I trained my legs, because I had so much arthritis in my right knee, I could not really get a pump in my right leg. You know, it was hurting too much. So I started to put that band on my right leg and just do extension with very, very light weights. And I mean, the first time I was screaming there. It felt like I did 10 sets with heavy weights. Wow. And the first time I did a pump, I really had a lot of blood flow in my leg and had a little pump. So then I started to kind of using it for shoulders, arms. But, you know, I was always aware you can't get around the heavy training just using bands. So I just used it targeted depending on injuries of clients or working on weaknesses. Now, when I go to the gym now, because I want to do the minimum but most effective way. Last night, for example, I did some arms. And so I just did 2 exercises for biceps, 2 for triceps, both with the bands, 4 sets each. And today my arms are so frequently sore, like I used heavy weights yesterday. And it's a little bit tricky to kind of get the right amount of pressure on it, you know, the 70%, because of course you cannot totally cut your limb off. Okay? But yeah, it's incredible. I have people, I have to really talk into it. And once they do it, the amount of pain you endure during those 4 sets, it works not for everything. It doesn't work for back, for example. Chest is a little difficult too. But when it comes to shoulders, biceps, triceps, or front thighs, and if you do a seated leg curl machine with those bands for 4 sets, I mean, you will scream. And, you know, using less weight also keeps you more safe. And as we get older, it's a very good way of doing things. So I'm a big believer in those bands. It really works for me.
I'm going to have to do some research on that. I mean, look into it, I should say. I'm familiar with it. I've never tried it, JP. I didn't realize you were using those, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
I use it every workout.
Well, hey, you know what I could do? I got a great idea, guys. I should start that BFR training right now for everything. Get ready for the Masters Olympia in August in Romania, man. I think I can do it.
There you go. Let's do it. We'll follow your progress, man.
Oh,
there you go. I need a big sponsor for that.
Let me say my plus and minus on that, Steve.
Tell me.
So, as a friend, I would love to see you on stage. Absolutely, you know, get that all. But let's just again ask me. You can lie plus minus 10%. How old are you?
61.
Yeah, but the Masters is 45 and up.
I know. I could never do it, man. I'm just busting your job.
Yeah.
You know, hey, so, I would have to get paid a big fee to even think of competing again at my age, man. Somebody have to offer me a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, if they have a 50 up and 60 up, I'll be way more, you know, on board with this. But yeah, we're gonna compete against 45-year-olds.
I don't even know what the ages were. Is that what it is? The Masters is 45 and over.
It's 45 and over.
Yeah. 45.
Yeah. So how old is Brandon?
Bodybuilders there, man.
Brandon
Curry. How old is Brandon? Yeah.
I think he's barely 40.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not close to that yet.
Good news, Steve. You don't have to compete against him.
I could never do that, man.
Yeah, you have to go probably Victor Martinez or something like that.
Yeah,
because he still looks good.
Good golly.
Oh, he probably come for that.
He'd be a candidate, a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe they'll have a 60 over one day and I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Then you and Flavio can.
I know. How old is Flavio? How old is Flavio now?
He's older than you. He's probably 65.
Is he really? Oh, man.
Hey, Steve.
You know, he still looks the same, guy.
Does he really?
Oh, he looks exactly the same. He can hardly move his right shoulder. You know, so his only problem is to get into the poses because he can't move his shoulder. He's so fucked up his shoulder, but he looks the same. The guy's incredible, guy.
Wow. He's a great guy, man.
Hey,
he goes every morning.
If they bring back an over 60, Steve, we'll be over 70 by the time it happens.
I know, right?
Oh, God.
These old guys walking on stage with a cane, man.
Oh, I can only imagine.
When I trained in Palm Springs, Flavio came to the gym every morning at 6 with his workout partner. You know, this is like 2 or 3 years ago. I trained in the gym till the pandemic. So when his workout partner was like 10 minutes late, the guy was like a caged animal. You know, he's like totally upset, totally freaking out. Like, wow, the guy still has the fire, guy. You know, so if my workout partner doesn't show up, it doesn't really bother me much, guy. So, wow, this guy is something else, guy. And he does a lot of like 3 exercises together, you know, like triple sets and stuff like that, and just like training really, really hard every morning.
Wild.
Oh man. Well, guys. You got anything else?
Had a blast, gentlemen.
I got a head cold kicking my ass.
I can see that there, buddy.
Yeah, I'm dying.
Oh man, you got to take a bunch of crap right now, dude.
Yeah.
Feel better, and I hope next week we can get Lee Haney on it.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for his response. I'm hoping he can do. He said whatever day works for us, so I'm hoping. I'm
curious what you guys think. What do you guys think? Somebody like Lee's concerns or when he wants an outline on the questions and stuff, because I never did that. You know, you can throw anything at me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to me if I want to answer or not, of course. But what do you guys think his concerns are?
I wonder why when you said that at first, Big Naz, what is concern? I was going to question that too. Like, we're off the cuff, man. Hey, I'm going to ask anything.
I mean, at this point, he should have no concerns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Or is he afraid? Maybe he didn't know who's on the podcast. Is he afraid we will ask like detailed questions about his cycles and stuff like that?
I don't think so, because you know, Linda Murray said she talked to him, and she gave a good reference. So,
well, we'll see, man. He's a great guy. I got to tell you that. He's awesome.
Yeah, Lee and I go back to the teenage years, so I've known him since '79.
Yeah, if it works out, it's going to be him and Linda together. So,
oh, that would be great.
Yeah. I always thought that's one person. Those are two people, huh?
Yeah, that's two.
Okay, Linda and Lee. I wasn't sure it is.
Yeah.
For me, the two greatest ever. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully it happens for us.
Gentlemen, it's been a blast again. Until
guys.
next week.
All right, guys.
Y'all have a good
Take care, brothers.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.